Hey, what's up, everybody? BDO 44 coming at you another video. All right, so Lakers. Listening to the Kaminsky brothers tonight. They're talking about D'Lo not talking to the media. I have a different approach in regards to that. I think it's okay for players who are not superstars to not want to talk to the media, unless there's something specific going on with them, for which you could say D'Lo's in that category. But as far as him like having to speak to the media, just needing to hear from these guys, as a fan, I don't really need to hear from D'Lo, man. I don't have to. Now, if he wants to speak and he gives us a great soundbite, I'm interested. But if he has a night where he just wants to play ball and go home to his wife and child, thumbs up. I ain't got no problem with it. I really don't. I think Bron and AD have to live by a different standard. Coach has to live by a different standard. But role players and complimentary stars and stuff like that, nah, man. D'Lo shouldn't have to necessarily speak to the media every day. And if he does miss a few games, especially during this time, it shouldn't be a conversation, in my opinion. I don't think it's a big deal. For those who are wondering why he may not want to speak to the media, has any of us ever thought of the idea that maybe he's just got some personal stuff going on and just doesn't want to answer questions? Like just stuff, man, life. You know, we all got life going on at times, man. And so when it really comes down to it, I just give D'Lo a pass. It may have something to do with trades. It may have something to do with his minutes. It may have something to do with his role. He was quoted saying something about his role as of late, essentially saying that he feels like he should be doing pick and roll stuff instead of some of the spot up shooting. And I was considering that when I spoke about D'Lo a few weeks ago, when I said, you know, part of the problem with D'Lo is that he's taking specific shots. He's not a guy who's going to be rushing at the rim, dunking the ball, getting easy buckets for himself a lot of the time. He's more methodical. And in a lot of situations with our team, we have him shooting jumpers. Either they fall or they don't. And if they happen not to fall, he's shooting poorly. You look at the stats, having an off shooting night, and then you want to sit him down because he's not particularly fast. So he's not really making things happen in some other ways. I mean, he can help defensively, but you know, a lot of what he does is predicated on him being efficient. And if he can't hit shots, then it just translates to him being inefficient in his offense. He can make plays. He gets Anthony Davis the ball, which is something I really appreciate. But, you know, I'm listening to him when he says I should probably be running the pick and roll more. And I start wondering, like, if we spammed him in the pick and roll, would he not be one of the most efficient pick and roll players in the NBA? Because when you look at his game and the way that he's able to attack, it seems to me that he's always dribbling as if there's supposed to be a screen set next to him or something like that. And as I said yesterday, the Lakers need to spam pick and roll with AD and Bron. I think we have pick and roll players, and I don't think we run it enough. I think we're too busy trying to create offensive plays that have people spotting up. It's just like I said about Vanderbilt last year. Like, why are we asking Vanderbilt to be a spot up 3-point shooter and having that be contingent on whether or not he plays? He can't shoot. So why just because the offense leaves the defense leaves him open to shoot the ball does not mean that the only way we're going to keep him on the floor is if he's able to hit the shot they leave him open for. Nah, we just got to find other ways of utilizing him and live with the fact that space is given for a reason. And so I'm not the only person that said that in regards to forcing Lakers to do things that they're no good at and judging them for it. But I think with D'Lo, it's like an inverted thought to say, why aren't we having him do things that he's so very good at all the time, since he's really, really good at certain things? We know he's better with the ball in his hands. We know he's a pick and roll player. And we know when he's in the pick and roll, he can be extremely efficient instead of having to pick his spots surrounding other shooters, other players who are attacking more often. You know what I mean? And just trying to find his way in an offense that's meant for shooters. He's a point guard. He's a facilitator, but a very specific one. And so if I had my choice, I'd love to see him down there. If you're not going to run him with AD and Bron, have him down there running pick and rolls with maybe him and Rui Hachimura. Have him running pick and rolls with Christian Wood. And spam that a bunch of times to see what comes of it. I'm willing to bet he'll walk away with a game that looks something like 25 points, 8 assists, 9 rebounds. Like, if we just ran his pick and roll more, instead of having him be a off-ball shooter, pick his spots, dribble a little bit, and then pull up for a mid-range, brick it, come down. Like, that stuff, nah. Have a screen set for him at all times. That's what I'm saying. And see if he doesn't play better if we set up those type of opportunities for him. You know, I really think that one of the biggest problems, and I've said this before, is that we really don't, and I'm saying this carefully because I really don't know nothing about nothing, but it seems to me that people don't communicate well enough about what they would rather do and what the goals are of the team. And you know, if I were the coach of the team, I would want to speak to each and every player and say, what would you want to do? What goals do you have for your career? What spots do you like to shoot in? What type of system did you grow up running? And try to run stuff for each player that makes them look good. You know, utilizing strengths and making that the forefront of what it is that I'm ultimately building my offense around, rather than a set system that I run, that everyone must run. More so create plays that, you know, utilizes the strengths that are present. And, you know, I don't know that Darvin has done that, and it seems to me that that's part of what should be done from here on out. And D'Lo's telling us he wants to run the pick and roll more. That should be something that Darvin Ham is listening to and now implementing into his offense. For whether or not you plan on keeping D'Lo is irrelevant, because at the end of the day, if nothing else, you want to raise his trade value, so he's going to need to play better in order for that to be the case. So all the more reason to get him involved in those pick and roll plays and try to limit some of those some of the ways that he's asked to attack, because it leaves him looking inefficient most nights. And honestly, I remember D'Lo when he was drafted, because obviously we were scouting him. He was our guy, and I thought it was the right pick for the Lakers to take him after Joel Embiid, of course, was already off the board. And one of the things that I loved about him was how efficient he was, shooting the ball, making plays for others, passing in tight windows, and various different things that were rhythm-based and ultimately on-ball-based stuff. Lots of picks, that kind of stuff. So it's like, when you consider who he was drafted to be, and you fast forward 10, 12 years later, you know, what is he best, where has he played his best ball? I'd say Brooklyn, where he was able to make an all-star team. Maybe we should look at some of the sets that Brooklyn ran, try to implement that into the offense that we use now, and see if we can turn this player into who it is that ultimately we would need him to be, which is our third star. You can't turn a third star into a third star if he's not naturally gifted in everything, but a very great specialist in some things. You want to utilize those strengths so you can unlock that star power. And so that's where I think Darvin is kind of falling short, is he hasn't been able to unlock D'Lo's ability to be consistent for us. And I think one of the problems is we're asking him to do stuff that he's not necessarily a specialist in. So that's just my little theory, man. That's my theory. I just think people need to communicate more what they need to be their best, and then I think coach needs to be willing to implement those things into what it is we're doing. So yeah, that's what I want to say, man. I just believe that D'Lo is a much better player than we've seen him be here. And while he can be a little inconsistent, you know, he does have some issues. But at the end of the day, he's better than what we've seen, I believe. And so that's really that. Another conversation I wanted to have is Zach LaVine is back. For those of us who are interested in seeing if the Lakers make a trade for Zach LaVine, he's working his way back into health, and he tonight was the first night where he really had his stats going. I don't remember exactly what he had, but he had high assists, high rebounds, about 25 points or something like that. And I read somewhere that he was playing some lockdown defense too. So he is showcasing himself. if anybody's wondering, he's probably going to play fantastic ball over the next several games to prove that he's worthy of being traded for. And so that's just something that I think is to pay attention to and temper expectations with. I've seen players do that before. You trade for them, you bring them here, and then they get back to who they used to be. But I think he desperately wants out of that situation. I think he would desperately like to be in our situation. And I think he understands that team ball is what is going to make him most attractive to us. Team ball, man. He can't have me ball. He can't play stupid ball, and he certainly can't be bad defensively. So he's incorporating more assists into his game, I think. And if he can do that for the Bulls, I'm pretty sure it's going to be some people around Lakerland who warm up to the idea of bringing him in, because I know that trade will be available to us if nothing else is. But that's really what it is. We need to see Zach LaVine play at a very high level, and not come down on our trade demands in regards to the Bulls. Keep those as high as possible, because at the end of the day, it's not just about the player, it's about that contract, and that contract is bad. It's just bad, man. So that's what I wanted to say, man. Take a look at Zach LaVine's numbers tonight. Go check out some highlights on him, because he's showcasing himself for us, in my humble opinion. So that's something that needs to be said. The Atlanta Hawks won a big game tonight against, who did they beat? They beat somebody they weren't supposed to beat, man. Might have been the Bulls. I don't remember exactly who they played against, the Atlanta Hawks, but they had a big game tonight. DeJounte, from what I understand, looked off Trae Young in one play, so Hawks fans were about done with DeJounte Murray from what I saw. But Jalen Johnson, like I said, he's playing like a most improved player candidate. Trae Young was having another one of those superstar nights. So Atlanta had a rare victory. They don't win very much, but I pay attention to what they have, because, of course, they got DeJounte, and we want to know if it's possible for us to acquire him. So from what I understand, he had a big game tonight, overtime game, and I don't remember who they played, man. Couldn't have been Chicago, because I thought Chicago won their game, but I know Atlanta won theirs as well in overtime. Maybe a little later I'll remember who they played, but point is, these are highlights that I think Laker fans and Laker personnel should probably be paying attention to, because these are players that ultimately are showcasing themselves for you. Although DeJounte's probably trying out for other teams as well, because at the end of the day, he has a lot of suitors. What else, man? In regards to our team, tomorrow, of course, we got a game against the Suns. It's going to be our 5th matchup against the Suns. Because of the in-season tournament and the presence of preseason games, we see the Suns like 7 times this year, not including if we see them in the playoffs. 7 times, fam. So that's the only problem with the in-season tournament. You're going to see teams at a ridiculous volume. You're not going to just see teams 4 times. Some of these teams you're going to see 5 and 6 times. So, like, for example, I think we saw the Suns either once or twice in this preseason, and then saw them twice. Then we had an in-season tournament game against them. Then we got this game coming up here. And then we got another one after that against the Suns. So we're going to know the Suns better than we know any team in the NBA by far. And I wonder if we'll actually see them healthy. Because in none of those games have we seen their big 3. Kevin Durant is out last I checked. I don't know what the injury report will be on him tomorrow. But if he does play, it won't be me shocked, because everybody likes to come back and play against the Lakers. But Bradley Beal has been back for a little while. And I think he's starting to get back in his form. And last I checked, Devin Booker was healthy. So at least we'll know those 2 will be out there tomorrow. KD, I have no idea. But I'm sure I'll know tomorrow, and I'll let you guys know. But yeah, man, I'm tired of the Suns, bro. That's the only problem. Is this in-season tournament is going to make it so that you see teams 1.5 million times, bro. And the Suns just happen to be a team where they scheduled most of our meetings against them early in the season, and so we've already seen them 4 times. But yeah, 2 more, ladies and gentlemen. So we'll be ready for that. I'm certain that game is here tomorrow in Los Angeles. And then we got some other games that are going to be big later down the week. The Dallas Mavericks coming up, Brooklyn Nets coming up, OKC's coming up, not in that order, Utah Jazz. And so these are all teams that I think are playing well, with the exception of Brooklyn, of whom I'm not really certain, probably not playing great. But everybody else, Utah's been balling from what I understand, and we know OKC is really killing it right now, and so is Dallas. So Luka was out last I checked, but I'm pretty sure he'll be back for us. I'm sure he'll be back for that one. So yeah, man, that's something. Maybe it was Philly that Atlanta played. Philly, maybe. I know that even Embiid was out and Maxey had a massive game. I think Tobias Harris scored 35 points. That's what I was going to say. So as far as expiring contracts of players that we can bring in with the potential to pay, depending on a few things, I don't know that Tobias Harris would be the worst acquisition for us, depending on what we're giving up. I don't know that Tobias Harris wouldn't be just a nice third option for AD and Bron, another big body who you can count on to score the ball a lot. He's been playing well over the years. My issue with him is injuries, because he started his career, particularly back when he played for Orlando and Detroit, having injury issues a lot. But he's shaken that off over the last couple of years. Played some great ball with the Clippers in the little half season that he played there under Doc Rivers. I remember distinctively he was fantastic for them, damn near an all-star. And he's really having a good season right now. He's in a good rhythm about himself right now. And I'm pretty damn sure that his $35 million contract will need to come off the books. Nobody's talking about acquiring Tobias Harris as an expiring contract. And I haven't really done the homework on whether or not he would be the greatest player for us. I haven't thought it all the way through. But it crossed my mind today when I looked at his stats above 30 points and said to myself, he's definitely moving teams. He definitely has ties to Los Angeles with the Clippers. And he's definitely somebody that I can count on to give me volume scoring, big body, basically an upgrade from Rui, more or less. And push come to shove, that's $35 million coming off my books this year for the upcoming season, where I can do some things with that. Or just re-sign him if he fits well. You know, one of the reasons why I don't want Pascal Siakam is because Pascal Siakam has to play one position, and that position is power forward. And I don't think I need a power forward. But Tobias Harris can play the 3 just fine. So I just think that's really interesting. I think that's interesting when you consider removing D'Lo because we're concerned that he won't return, or that if he does return, he'll probably return as a worse version of himself. And in an opt-in, we want more control over what happens there. You're moving Rui because it matches salary with whatever it is you're trying to bring back. Now, that might kind of kill it, because you probably would have to throw in Rui, send him to Philly, and I don't know if that makes all the sense in the world when I consider it, given the fact that you really do like Rui a lot, and it's not like you just want to get rid of the player. He is a big body similar to Tobias Harris, and he is a similar player in a lot of different ways. I just think Tobias is an upgrade, but if you don't have Tobias on tab for several years, then it may not make a whole lot of sense to bring him in. But for Rui, rather. But if I'm moving D'Lo, and let's say I can move Gabe Vincent and keep Rui, well, now I got a bunch of forwards in Darvin's forward-friendly lineup that I can have score 1,000,000 points for me. Tobias sits down, Rui comes in, Vando comes in. I have so much size and so many players that I can throw at literally anybody, that it becomes a situation where you have to ask yourself how you're going to guard us. Now, we do have a problem at point guard. In that situation, you're moving Rui, D'Lo, you're not bringing back a point guard. I don't know if you believe Skylar Mays can play that role. I personally think that he's shown me enough statistically to feel like he can, but I don't know what his deficiencies would be or what style he would play in. It's a lot of things to understand there. Maybe we can get a point guard in a different way. But I just think about the win-win possibility of bringing in Tobias Harris at the small forward and having a lineup of, upgrading Taurean Prince in that starting lineup with a guy that can legitimately score 30 points. Next to Bron, similar size as Rui and Bron. Next to AD. I mean, who the hell is going to rebound over us? You put in Vanderbilt, you put in Christian Wood. Like, you got so much damn size and scoring. At this point, it can offset the need to play Taurean so much. It offsets the need to have, sit guys like Cam Reddish because he can't score, Vanderbilt because he can't score. It gives you so much space for a guy like Christian Wood when a guy like Tobias Harris is on the floor. It makes Taurean Prince's role make more sense when he's coming off the bench. I just think that this would be a fairly fun fit for Tobias Harris. It would have been too for Pascal Siakam, but he's more or less going to have trouble playing the playing the 3, as I think Tobias would not, because that's what he's doing in Philly right now. So I just think that Philly, if they don't want to re-sign him, he's going to have to go somewhere. And I think a solid package for him would be somebody like Rui Hachimura, who's on multiple years, and a guy like D'Angelo Russell, who fits in right off your bench, who can give you a lot of scoring, who's going to have a lot of space around a guy like Joel Embiid, getting passes from Tyrese Maxey, maybe be able to run some pick and roll with Joel. So I don't know. Maybe you move one of those guys to a different place to make it make more sense for Philly, but I just wanted to brainstorm a Tobias Harris fit here on this camera right now with you guys, because I just don't know if it's the worst thing in the world. I really don't think so. I'm actually intrigued by the idea of losing him and bringing back that $35 million worth of cap space next season. Being the Laker market, I just love the idea of that for some reason. Especially in the event LeBron James opts out, that would be crazy. But what you do have is the ability to re-sign Tobias Harris, which is not great, but you don't have to fall off the cliff with AD. You know what I mean? You're not leaving AD out to dry if you have a guy like Tobias Harris looking to make his money with the Lakers next year. And if push come to shove, he signs with somewhere else. No harm, no foul. The only thing you're really out of is Rui Hachimura, who you will miss next season. Maybe that's why you don't do this. But if we're planning on moving him anyway, depending on what we're moving him for, I don't know that Tobias Harris isn't the worst opportunity for us in regards to trying to make a push for this year's timeline. Because if he's healthy, Bron's healthy, AD's healthy, Christian Wood's healthy, Austin Reeves, all these guys remain healthy, you look at Tobias Harris and you realize he has significantly upgraded your small forward position, and you're not relying on TP so much. So that is what I'm saying to you guys. I don't know what's the greatest thing in the world. I'm actually just thinking it out right now. So I don't know if Philly has better suitors for him. They probably may. But given the fact that he's also one of them dudes that's probably not going to want to just re-sign with a team, he's going to probably want to see the open market himself. Well, if I'm Philly, I'm going to want to trade him somewhere to where they don't mind him not re-signing. And in my head, we're probably that team for him. Probably don't care if he doesn't re-sign. So that's just what I'm thinking, man. And if I'm Philly, if I'm going to lose him, I would love to bring in Rui Hachimura multiple years as his replacement. So I don't know. I'm not sold on it, but I'm thinking about it. So yeah, just a thought, man. But I would love to have some excess cap space next year. I would. And given the fact that D'Lo, we're not trying to keep D'Lo because of a combination of him being able to opt in if he plays poorly or able to opt out if he plays well. We don't want to be caught off guard by him. That's the key to all of this. If he had an expiring contract outright, we probably still trade it for sure. But it's a different vibe when you think someone may stay and you don't want them to. You know what I mean? Which is really his option. So I think that's what we're ultimately trading away. With Tobias, that wouldn't be a case. Tobias is just going to be a free agent coming off your books. Sort of like Taurean Prince is. So that's kind of one of those things where you look up and say he improves your three-point shooting, improves your scoring all the way around, gives you big body length, rebounding, could possibly play some defense as well, although he's not a wonderful defender. He gives you some Bron insurance. If for some reason Bron goes down with an injury, slips right in, plays well with AD, we probably don't fall off a cliff standing rise. Give Bron some time to recover from whatever injury would be there in the second half of the season, not assuming it will happen, but giving me extra insurance if it does. I trust him a bit more than Rui at this stage because Rui's still developing and has injuries of his own. So, these are the type of things I'm just thinking about. I want insurance. I want insurance. Because I know if my star goes down, it could be bad for me. And see, for me, it's like if I'm looking for 30-point scoring, like I'm asking for Zach LaVine, I don't want the stranglehold of the contract that Zach LaVine comes with. Tobias Harris could probably get some of the same scoring numbers without the terrible contract strangleholds. So that's what I'm looking for. Not to say that they're the same type of player, they're definitely not. Yeah, I'm just wondering if Tobias wouldn't be the kind of the answer there. If for some reason we need to make some other type of trade, what else can we do to improve our scoring? That might be an option. So, especially if we don't have to give up Rui. Although I'm pretty damn certain they wouldn't give him up for Gabe Vincent's contract and D'Angelo Russell. I'm pretty sure they wouldn't do that. So, but I would certainly shop it. That's for damn sure. I would shop the hell out of that. Yeah, man. So these are just things that kind of cross my mind at absolute random. Los Angeles Lakers. What else is out there for us, man? I'm sure there's some other conversations. We talked about the referees a little earlier. I encourage everybody to check out my little video on that. I looked at who was just a young fella, Kenny For Reals of content, where I encourage you guys to check that out as well, where he broke down every foul that was called in the final 12 minutes, fourth quarter. And wasn't a whole lot there, you guys. For those who are complaining about the Lakers getting bad calls, I didn't see any. I didn't see any bad calls. Now, there may have been, like I said in the video last night, in the reaction, Scotty Barnes dunked on our guy, Max Christie. I think they could have called that as a foul. I think we would have wanted that call. But it wasn't like Max Christie was clobbering the man. I mean, it was his inertia initiating contact on Max. So you could very easily say it wasn't a call, and be fine with it. So other than that, man, I didn't see a whole lot. He thought that one of the swipe down fouls that was called, I don't remember exactly who it was, but he felt like that was questionable, but I saw contact on that particular play. So I didn't agree with Kenny when he said he thought that foul was questionable. So for me, when you go back and look at the replay, I thought most of the fouls that we got in the fourth quarter looked legitimate. They were legitimate. Maybe there were some things that the refs could have called against us that would have made it a little more fair for Raptor fans' mindsets. But at the end of the day, you just want them to call it right. You don't want them to call it wrong so that teams can be even. You want them to call what is there. That's what it really comes down to. And if they only see 3 fouls on one side and they see 25 fouls on the other side, I don't want them to embellish so that it will be parity there. I want them to call what they see. Call what's there. And so if that's what was there, then Raptor fans are just going to have to live with that, fam. Like, literally. We can't get so caught up in the demand for parity that we leave no room for massive imbalance in the realities of the game itself. Sometimes there are going to be games where one team fouls all the time and the other team barely fouls at all. Don't you want the referees to make up calls so that they can balance out? I mean, we got to leave room for these things. Not to say that I know this is exactly what it was, but to just rule it completely out and just demand that because the Lakers got 25 free throws, that your team also get 25 free throws, you're essentially asking the referees to do what it is that you're basically complaining about, which is make something up or call a bunch of bull crap for parity's sake. And if that's the case, then they don't need to be refereeing the game. They just need to make sure everybody gets to the foul line. You understand what I'm saying? So it's like, just look for yourself. Like I said, go check out Kenny For Real's content on that and see what you see there. Because for me, maybe one call. Other than that, I didn't see nothing. So that's really what I want to say, man. That is exactly what I wanted to end that point of view with. I think the Raptors lost again tonight to the Clippers. Last I checked, it was a 4-point game with time seemingly about to expire. So I'm pretty sure it ended like that. And so, the Raptors can go home crying, bro. What can I say? You came to LA and you lost. That's it. Live with it, buddy. See you again. And so that's what I got to say to them, man. I'm kind of where Bron is at. They fouled, we didn't. That's what I saw there. I'm with Bron. After concluding all of that, that's where I'm at. I'm where Bron's at with this. So yeah, man, that's pretty much where my head is in regards to this LA team, man. Austin Reeves got to bounce back, man. You're untouchable, but you got to stay untouchable. That means you got to keep playing well. It can't just be you feeling comfortable while not playing well. Just because the Lakers have come out and said, okay, we're not going to trade him. You got to make yourself exactly who it is that we signed, man. A very efficient three-point shooter, somebody who can draw contact, maybe even embellish a little bit to make sure that contact comes his way. A smart player that makes plays for other people, a guy who can finish inside 10 feet, you know what I mean, and around the mid-range and stretching it even further. So rebounding the ball, particularly offensive rebounds, throwing his body around, diving on the floor for loose balls. That's who I need Austin to be, man. I don't know where his rhythm is shooting the ball, but he looked pretty terrible last game, in my opinion. He did hit a clutch shot, and I like that about his game, that he's very clutch. But throughout the meat and potatoes of the game, he was nowhere to be found, man. 3-point shot was trash. And it can't just be you turning it up at the end of the game. We can't be pulling a Tebow. Passing all over the place horribly throughout the course of the game, and in the last 2 minutes you want to turn into hero number one. Now, that can't be what we're signing up for, because at the end of the day, if you give us that for 48 minutes, what you give us in the clutch, then the game don't have to be close for us to have those hero moments. So Austin's going to have to step up, man. He got to step up and step into his best place on this team, and if there's a conversation to be had about what type of plays he'd like to run like D'Lo, then that's something that he's going to have to take initiative and have those conversations. If you ain't going to have them with the coach, you got to have them with the media like D'Lo did. But make sure you let us know where you're most comfortable getting the ball, man. I think people are afraid to talk to each other out there, man. I really do. That's another thing before I go. It's not enough communication. If a guy's coming up on somebody's weak side, going to steal the ball, then damn it should be about 5 people yelling at him, telling him to look out. Standard talking on the basketball floor is kind of missing right now. And I'm not used to that from Laker teams. We're usually very good at talking. And I think that that's been something that I haven't heard anyone say at all about how the Lakers have been just failing in that area. LeBron James having the ball stolen from him several times by Alvarado against New Orleans. Who's screaming, watch out for Alvarado? I just think the communication needs to improve on this basketball floor with this team, man. So that is where I think I will leave it. My name is BDF44. I thank you all for watching. I'm out.